Hi, welcome to the Coffee Chat Show here on Buzzing Pattaya, the show where we talk about things that are happening right here, right now, as well as general news, tips, information, and advice. Now, guys, you know about Pattaya, you know where it is in the world, you know where it is on the map, but this gentleman here put Pattaya on the map. BJ, how the devil are you, my man?
Good, man. Good.
It's great to be having the privilege and the honour to sit here and talk to you. This man, believe it or not, owned the very first bar here in Pattaya. Yeah. He remembers Walking Street when there was a tree before you could even get through Walking Street.
That's right.
And he's been married to the same lady for 50 years.
You got it.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
You know what? That's fantastic. Then
Pretty
now,
unbelievable.
Oh, unreal. So, BJ, what I'd like to do is I'd like to cast your mind back to many, many years ago when you first came here.
Yeah.
Before you came here, where are you from?
From America, from Texarkana, Texas. You remember the song Cotton Fields?
Yeah.
Yeah. Way down south in Louisiana, about a half a mile from Texarkana. That's where I'm from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you grew up, I mean, obviously, I'm guessing you never visualized that you'd spend most of your life here.
No way.
What was your ambitions when you were younger?
Well, when I was 18, I joined the Air Force, straight out of high school. 4 years, did my time. I got out and I volunteered to go to Vietnam. I worked a year in the States, 1 year, and then I volunteered to go to Vietnam and work for the government there, right? So I did that for 3.5 years. And then when I left Vietnam, I'd already been to Bangkok in December of 67, December 67, yeah.
Wow.
And I went to Bangkok for 2 weeks, and it was like a fantasy. I couldn't believe it, you know.
Really?
They had huge warehouse type bars, you know, maybe 300-400 women, you know, on the roster. Yeah, in 67. A lot of military, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, you could go to the Thai Heaven, for instance, right? And it was a huge place, and the girls were dancing around in the rumwong, and they call it. It's a Thai dance.
Yeah.
They're elbow and elbow. They're wearing street clothes. They've all got a number on. You pick one out. You tell the boy. He brings her over. 140 baht for 24 hours. 70 baht for the bar. 70 baht for the girl. 140 baht. That was in 67.
Back then, I mean, what was the exchange rate back then?
About 20 baht to the dollar.
20 baht to the dollar, so $7.
Yeah.
Oh, dearie,
yeah,
man, you must be pulling your hair now.
It was such a fantasy, you know. I couldn't believe it. That's why I had to come back after I finished in Vietnam. I left in January 71, and I came back through here thinking I'd stay here for a month, you know, and go back home, you know. And I stayed a month. I stayed 2 months. I met my wife. She was a singer in a nightclub in Bangkok, and you know, the rest is history, man.
I mean, you've got some history. I mean, as you can see on the screen now, we're going to talk through these photos, but look at what I'm looking at now, the photos here. I mean, there's some incredible photos, and the one that really sticks out in my mind that I'm going to talk about to BJ in a bit is the tree. There's a very good story behind the tree, which we're going to share in a bit. Yeah. I mean, so you came out here. I mean, obviously the photos in the lobby there are amazing. I mean, that's a massive trip down memory lane. Yeah. When you first came out here, obviously, like you say, you know, it was like fantasy land. I mean, what made you decide to say, do you know what, I'm not only just going to come here for a couple of months, I'm actually going to stay here for the rest of my life?
Well, I had no idea that would happen.
Right.
You know, we came to Pattaya. There was a job coming up, Federal Electric Corporation. They were hiring, so I hired on with them. I was assigned to Utapao, Sadahip, that area.
Right.
And so we were going to live in Pattaya. So my wife and I came down here. We set up a house and home, and I went to work. Yeah.
You say about Utapao, I mean, was the airport there then?
Yeah.
The airport was in Utapao?
Well, it was an airstrip. We were flying in B-52s back and forth, you know. But then they changed it to a commercial airport.
Wow.
After years.
So back in the day, I mean, obviously, you know, you're here. When did you first come to Pattaya? 69, did you say?
67, December 67.
December 67,
Bangkok, 2 weeks, yeah.
And when did you first come to Pattaya?
January of 71.
January 71.
When I came back.
I've got to ask a question. I mean, what was there when you came here in 71? Because I was never privileged enough to visit here then. It was a fishing
There wasn't
village.
a lot, man. Not a lot here. It was very quiet, very quiet. You know, there was nothing on the beach, you know, except horses and elephants, you know. And very few tourists, you know, if any, you know. It was about 74 when we opened our bar, July 74. And we began to see white people come, you know, Europeans, Germans, you know, that type of stuff. And the big business back then was the Japanese and the Germans. That was the biggest tour business, you know.
Really?
Yeah, when they first started in early 70s, yeah.
So when you came here, I mean, what was the reasoning behind opening a bar? I mean, obviously there was nothing here. I mean, you could have opened a restaurant, a hotel, a tourist attraction.
I came to go to work, right?
Right.
And my wife was playing housewife, and I worked for about 3 years, and then we realized the contract was coming to an end and we needed something else to do. And my wife, she wanted to open a shop. I didn't know what kind of shop. I wasn't a drinker. I couldn't imagine opening a bar, right? But she said, yeah, I want to open this place. And it turned out to be my boss's business, you know, on the job. And so he told me, he said, you don't want to open a bar because it'll ruin your marriage, you know. Right? Anyway, it did ruin his, right? So we moved in, we took over the bar, and we opened July 4th, 74.
July 4th,
yeah,
74.
and within a month, you know, we had business going, a lot of local people, a lot of expats like me, you know, right? And yeah, it was a good thing in the beginning, very easy to make business, you know.
What was your bar called?
BJ.
Oh, it's called
bar.
BJ.
Yeah, well, that's what they named the Soi, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's what I was just leading into that, because, you know, it's one thing being a long-term resident here. It's one thing being able to recall all the history that you can recall. Yeah. But they named a Soi after you. I mean, talk about, you know...
Story of my life, a dead-end street, man.
Yeah, I mean, do you stand there, look at that now and think, that's me? I mean, does it like sink in? Because one of the things that, you know, has always seemed to be quite paramount is the fact that we seem to get the idea that the Thai people hate us and that, you know, we're not welcome, etc. But they've named a Soi after you.
Yeah, well, it kind of came with the time, you know. If you stay in one spot long enough, something's going to happen.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Sure enough, they decided to call it Soi BJ, and then when we left, we closed the bar 20 years ago.
20
and it's still Soi BJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. We still own a place on the Soi, but you know, somebody else runs it, so.
Yeah, and I mean, back then when you, I mean, how many bars were here in Pattaya back then?
We were the first open air bar, and I can name maybe 5 or 6 bars other than that. There was a couple of small strip bars, like, you know, before the go-go era, you know. And then there was a Fantasy Bar, the Sandbox. They were like larger places with a dance floor and a band, you know, right? And then there were some small places like Hank's Hideaway, and you know,
Hank's Hideaway, wow.
Yeah, Hank's Hideaway, Dino Bar, you know.
Yeah.
It's way back, man. It's hard to remember those times, man. You know, 50 years ago.
Yeah, 50 years.
Anyway, it was a very small situation. People coming by every day, just wave as they go by, you know, right? It was a really laid-back existence. But then when things started changing in the late 70s, the military began to come. And we hit it off big with the military. We had people from the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, you name it. We had Royal Marines from Hong Kong coming in. We had, it was great. Good business, you know. We were 3-4 people deep, standing room only in the bar at times, you know, when they would come in. But they were only in for 5 days, so, you know, it didn't make a big difference in our business except for that short period, but it was nice.
So those 5 days were pretty much like carnage for
it was like little America, you know. You see all these American kids walking up down the street, you know, and that was really something.
Fair play.
Amazing to watch, to see the ships on the horizon, wake up in the morning, step out on the veranda, and you see like 6 or 8 ships, you know, on the horizon, a carrier and a...
And how many soldiers were on naval base were coming?
We had as many as maybe 6,000, 10,000 when they would come in, you know, in a carrier group, you know, you get that many people. It's like a small city.
10,000 people.
Yeah, it's like a small
go.
town. Yeah, the town jumped, man, when they come in. It was really lively.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the stupid question I'm going to ask is, I guess the guys coming off the boat were here to have fun, enjoy themselves. So, I mean, how did you cope in terms of getting the amount of girls to come down here? I mean, was it like the Jungle Telegraph, like get down here, there's loads of guys here?
The word gets out, you know. It's all in the newspaper. Everybody knew they were coming, so, you know. But there were a lot of women here already, you know. They didn't have to come down here, believe me. They were all waiting on the beach when the boys hit the beach, man.
So at a guess, obviously you've seen literally thousands of guys come through the door here.
Thousands.
At a guess, how many of those thousands do you think ended up getting married and it all went pear-shaped?
I couldn't put a percentage on it, you know, but
quite a few.
There have been some successful marriages. I had a number of girls come out of our place, married Europeans, Australians, English, American, you know, and went and had a great life, you know. But then there have been those failures. I mean, you know, you got to realize the girls working at the bar, they're doing it for business.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for love, you know.
Absolutely.
And these guys come here, they get involved, and next thing you know, they think it's love, and it's not. And Everything goes pear-shaped. And
you're listening to a guy here that 50 years ago is telling you the same thing I'm telling you today, that this is a business. It's not emotional, it's a business.
That's right.
I mean, you've watched the whole city grow and develop into what it is now, you know, probably one of the world's biggest nightlife entertainment zones ever.
Yeah.
I mean, when it started to grow, I mean, how did that affect you in terms of, like, were you happy seeing the city that was so quiet, so nice to enjoy, suddenly become this bustling, hustling city? I mean, how did that affect you?
No, I go with the changes easy, you know, right? Although personally I'm a fixed person, you know.
Yeah.
But back in the old days when we first started, there would have been a couple of thousand people resident here in Pattaya,
right.
you know, and now there's probably 500,000, you know. So it's grown considerably over the years. But in the first few years, you know, it was a nice, quiet, sleepy fishing village type situation. But nowadays it's so overgrown, I don't go anywhere, you know. I don't even leave the house most of the time, you know, just because and if you go to Jumdian, it's like a world away, you know what I mean? And I have people tell me, well, I've never been down here because it's so far away, and they're in South Pattaya, you know what I mean? Come on, man. It's ridiculous. I mean, I admit I don't travel, I don't go anywhere. I don't even like to go to Bangkok. I can't remember when I went there last, you know what I mean? But
well, yeah, I mean, if it's that long ago, I can't imagine the changes that would present you with now. If you, I mean, I was only there a few days ago. I mean, it's just like a multi-story skyscraping buildings everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, Tahitian Queen. I mean,
TQ.
I guess you were one of their first customers, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, they opened. I think I can't recall the name. I want to call it the Polynesian or something like that. Before the TQ took it, and they opened. I forget what year exactly they opened. I think it was about 86, somewhere in there, 85. But they're the oldest place open now, right now, and they just reopened after all the lockdowns and stuff. But yeah, the TQ, they wanted we had another place on Soi BJ that was empty at the time, and I pushed them to open up there. So eventually they opened a TQ too, you know, and it was there for a number of years, and then they pulled out. You know, they said they didn't need it. So anyway, yeah, they're still doing well.
I want to ask you about the tree. Because if you look on now, you'll see the picture of the tree I'm referring to. So this is Walking Street, and as you can see on the picture, what we recognise, us being the guys that have only been here a little while, that left-hand turn that we're now forced to do in front of as you see on the picture, is a tree. So now, BJ, that tree is no longer there, but that's down to your friend, isn't it? Why it's not there. I mean, tell us about the tree that was blocking Walking Street. What happened there?
Well, I had a friend that decided to build a trimaran. He built a Peter Brown trimaran, 48-footer. Yeah. And they built it in a warehouse down on South Pattaya Road. And when it came time to take it to the sea, they couldn't get it out. It came out early in the morning, and they looked and they said, "What are we going to do with this tree?" And it's a Buddha tree, you know, so it's very sacred. Been here for 100 years, you know what I mean? And so they took the privilege of cutting it down, you know, right? Anyway, they took it down, they hit the sea, and they took off, you know, but the city was really upset, you know, people that related that tree for years.
So they cut the Buddha tree down, just to get his boat out into the water.
Just to get the boat out. Anyway, as karma would have it, he's in prison now, you know, right? This is years later, you know, 30 years later, but anyway. Yeah, it was some story, you know. I
mean, would he be allowed back in? I mean, obviously he's in prison, but if he wasn't, would he have been allowed back?
No, he'd be persona non grata.
So yeah, cutting the tree down. I mean, Walking Street back then, obviously now it's under a lot of pressure. Yeah. You've seen Walking Street go from nothing to being at the height of its time, which is probably 15 years ago now, probably at its peak. Yeah. Now it's sort of filtering down. I mean, you've got an incredible knowledge of this city. You've seen all the naysayers, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, but you've seen it all with your own eyes. I mean, where do you see the city?
It just keeps on keeping on, man. You know, I've heard this for years and years. It looks like Pattaya is going down. It's not going to do any more business, and people are going elsewhere, you know. But it was never the case. It always came back, you know. And between Phuket and here and the other resorts, you know, they migrate tourists. They go back and forth. So, you know, but right now I think if you look at all the new construction, it's mind-boggling, you know. I mean, somebody knows something that we don't, you know.
Absolutely, and I've been saying this a lot of times on my channel that, you know, I've even done a walk around and shown all the new buildings, the new big buildings. You know, they're not like little single bar units. These are like multi-story buildings. You know?
That's right.
And they're not going to open those. You know, people say, "Oh, they're laundering money." They're not going to be doing that just for the sheer hell of it.
Yeah, there's a rumor about casinos coming. You know, that kind of thing. So I think that's what's driving it. Big money coming. So it'd probably be all the Chinese when they come down with their money.
Yeah. Well, I guess you must have seen when the very first flag appeared. Down Walking Street when they were flag chasers. You must have thought, God, what have they got a flag for? Now it's common practice.
I had a friend one night. He got drunk in my bar and he went down the street. He walked in the Siam Bayshore Hotel and there was a tour group of Chinese that had come in, and the tour guide had dropped his flag and his whistle on the couch and gone into the toilet, right? My buddy walked up and he picked up the flag and the whistle and he started to walk out the front door, and just as he did, he waved the flag and blew the whistle and he took off.
No.
And he turned around about 500 meters later and here's this whole tribe of Chinese following him single file, right? So he dropped the flag and the whistle and dashed up a Soi, and get away from him.
I bet that tour guide was happy.
Oh my God.
Where's my troops gone?
Oh no. You can't imagine what he would have thought,
Oh, goodness me. I mean, talking about, Chinese, obviously they're predominantly here in Walking Street. That's where they're most known for.
Yeah.
Now, over a period of time, we've seen the Soi BJ area develop, tree towns developing as we speak, and that area. What was that like back in the day?
I have no idea. I never went there. They call it the dark side,
Well, isn't the dark side, though, over the Cross Sukhumvit Road?
Well, it could be. That's like I say, I've never been there.
You've never been there?
No, man. Once I left Walking Street, I stayed on this end of the beach. I never went down there again, man.
Wow. And what about like Nakla and all around that way? Did you venture over there? Was there anything there?
No, nothing there. I had some cats in a shop house out there. I used to go out there every other day to feed the cats. But otherwise, no, I had no need to go to Nakla,
Wow.
That's the market area. That's where we do a lot of our market stuff.
Yeah, it's a great fish market there. I covered that the other day. And so in terms of like the food, I mean, obviously over the years since I've been coming here, I mean, I've only lived here 10 years, I've been coming here nearly 13 now, so I've only experienced a tiny bit of what you've seen. But what I have noticed is there's more and more Western restaurants opening time after time now. They're catering towards that market. When you were here 50 years ago, I mean, was it just Thai food and Thai food only?
Basically, when we first opened our restaurant, we served Falang food, international stuff. But I'm not a big Thai food eater, I have fried rice on Saturday morning and that's it.
Is that it? That's your routine?
That's it, that's my routine.
Fried rice on a Saturday, that's
you got it, man. I don't even have to ask them what I want to eat on Saturday morning and they just bring it out.
They just bring it out, they know. Fantastic.
Yeah. But I have friends that they're Thai food lovers, man. I mean, they just can't get enough of it. I never got that addiction. I just,
I must admit, I love Thai food.
I'm a foreigner. I live in this country, I'm a resident, but it's their country. I'm just visiting, you know what I mean?
Well, that's an incredible way of thinking how, because I know you say you're a resident, but you are.
I am a resident.
I mean, well, yeah, you are, but you're part of Pattaya, aren't you? I mean, you wouldn't, honestly, you wouldn't believe me when I tell you this, the amount of people that watch my interviews and watch my channel that say to me, get down Soi 3 and go and see BJ. He's forgotten more than most of us even know about this city.
Oh, I really have. It's amazing how many people know me and I don't know them, I walk the beach on 4 o'clock every day with the dog, you know. And people will stop me and I say, are you BJ? I remember you from 40 years ago, when I came here first time, Unbelievable.
So 40 years ago, no YouTube then?
No YouTube, no telephones,
internet,
nobody.
Telephones.
Now every maid has an iPhone, Everybody's got access to the internet.
I did a live stream the other day, and there's a guy that comes into our bar over in Tree Town, and I think he's actually got the oldest phone I think I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't even send pictures or anything.
Yeah. Some guys just don't want to upgrade. They get used to what they have. I'm the same. I like use the same thing all the time.
Do you think the internet's helped develop the city, or do you think it's hurt the city?
Well, it's hard to say. How's it affected society is a better question.
Well, that's a fair shout. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's been good for families. I don't think it's been good for the social structure. It makes people feel like they're inadequate if they go on Facebook and they see somebody else having a great life, even though it's all crap. They're putting all the BS on there, saying I've got this and I've got that. And we're all the same, Some people have, some people have not. But you go on to social networking, man, it really screws people's heads up, I think, especially younger kids, then they don't know whether they want to be a man or a woman, this kind of stuff. It's just crap.
You've led me nicely into what I was going to ask. The next topic was
crap.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I agree. I mean, social media. I mean, here's me saying I agree when I'm, benefiting from the YouTube channel, etc. But my point being is it allows people to say a lot of things that they wouldn't necessarily say if they were with you, and that right. side of things, like you say, you know, the trolls and all that kind of, it does have a negative side, but I also think, in fairness, you know, when people see videos, they see photos, oh, that looks amazing, I've got to go there, because I'm guessing, you know, back in the day it was a Thompson's holiday brochure, but you know, we look through the pictures, oh, that looks nice, let's go there. I mean, in terms of like the ladyboy scene, when did was that prominent back in the day, or was that grown into society?
When I first came here, you didn't notice the gays like you do today. The lady boys, they more or less stayed in the closet back then.
Did they?
You know, it wasn't open season like it is now, you know, but then over the years I saw it begin to change, you know, some of the bars would bring in 1 or 2 lady boys, you know, transgender, whatever, just to offer something else to their, you know, customers.
Just to teach the drunk lads a lesson.
And the guys would come in inevitably and they'd pick up a guy and be drunk and wind up the next day, you know, with stories to tell for the rest of their life, you know.
So, having had the first open beer bar here, I guess the question I've got to ask is how many guys have come into your bar the next morning and go, BJ, you are not going to believe what happened to me last night. How many?
It was every night.
And what did you do? It's okay, mate. It's normal. It's the norm.
I've heard it too many times. I heard it.
How's your radar? Is your radar good? Or can you tell them from a distance?
As long as you kept your wallet, that's all that matters.
Brilliant. Well, listen. What we're going to do is, I want to talk to you a lot more detail in part 2 about like the future of Pattaya and about, obviously, I mean, you've been married 50 years and, you know, we'll talk about how hard that's been, because obviously, you know, being here in this scene must have been a few testing moments over the years.
It has, man.
But we're going to talk about that. Also, I want to talk about the BJ Holiday Inn. I mean, you've gone from a small bar, the first ever bar, to now a colossal place. I mean, really,
well, it's not colossal, but
well, it is. I mean, come on, don't undersell yourself. How many rooms have you got?
50 rooms.
50 rooms. See, I mean, that's 1 room for every year. Imagine if you were 130 years old, you'd have a lot bigger place.
Yeah, but the guy across the street, he's got 1,050 rooms. You know,
but you got personality. They don't. That's the difference. That's the difference.
I'm the happy camper. I'm the guy that goes golfing every Tuesday. Exactly. This guy has no time to do anything.
Exactly, and people will come here because of you. And honestly, I can't tell you enough times. I'm not blowing smoke up your arse. The amount of people that have sent me emails, messages, get down, Soi, go see BJ. You know,
I've met a lot of people.
You are a very well respected man. You know, fair play to you. Right, guys, so in part 2, what we're going to do is, in part 2, we're going to talk about BJ's married life, about how it must have been so. I mean, 50 years, guys, you know, most people last 50 days, you know, 50 years, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, we're going to talk about this wonderful, wonderful hotel. It really is. It's in a fantastic location. If you're not sure where we are, we're in Soi 3, which is at the sort of starting point of Beach Road. So it's really a great location in terms of you're far enough away from the activities, but you're close enough to get there. So you got a winner on both aspects there. It's been a pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you so much indeed. It's
for sure.
I can't wait to talk to you in part 2 and dig a bit more. And we're going to find out. I'm going to get him to share some funny stories that he's heard over the years, what some of the guys have got up to. We're going to talk about that in part 2. That's brilliant. Fantastic. All right, guys. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this fantastic interview with BJ. He really is a smashing guy. And part 2 will be out very, very soon. That's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Please, as always, guys, remember, hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon if you'd like to be notified when I bring out a new video. Check out our Discord group. On Discord now, we've got over 11,300 members. And I know some of you guys have been on there messaging me about coming and speak to BJ. Well, there you go. We're here. We've done it for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly have. And if you'd like to support the channel, there is a link in the description below, and membership starts from as little as 89 pence per month. All right, that's it from us. Thank you very much for watching. Please, wherever you are in the world, stay safe.